What is the best advice you have ever received? The advice that has impacted your life the most? I was in a pretty negative place in college, being quite cynical and sarcastic and really insecure with myself. So much that I was ragging on friends, and generally trying to build myself up by putting other people down. You know the type. The friend who thinks he's busting chops, but really is kinda just being a dick. My well-liked, popular roommate/friend noticed this, and sent me this little bit, which I always hang on to. Immediately stop picking on people's weaknesses. Do what I do. Expose their qualities and strengths. It makes them feel good about themselves, and you too for noticing. When you make people feel good when you're around, they are going to remember that feeling whenever you show up. You'll be well received and missed often. Plus, don't you want your friends to feel good about themselves? It made me revisit the way I'd been treating people around me. Use your vacation hours, and don't be afraid to call in sick every now and then either. No need to work like a dog and ignore your benefits to please a boss who doesn't notice. Vacation/staycation days are gems that everyone should take. Cries in essential worker blackout dates. When you're being too harsh on yourself, imagine if the person with those issues is one of your friends. Treat yourself like you'd treat that friend. That helped me be way kinder to myself than before. Really? Oh shit, that one is really good. It's not what you say, but how you say it. Changing the way one phrases things can have an incredible effect. My current boss says something as a joke that has helped me a lot more than he realizes. I'm a mechanic, but I'm not always the most confident, even when I know what I'm doing. He says only one way to fix it. Fix it. Weirdly enough, it always makes me focus and remember there's no secret trick he knows that I don't. Just got to do it. Applied that to other areas of my life, and it helps so much more than I would have thought. This one I like a lot. Under promise and over deliver. Mine is never forget to feed the kids in the basement. Always check for toilet paper before you poop. Marriage shouldn't be a 50/50 split. It should be a 60/40 split where both are trying to be the 60%. Be the love you never received. Cries in reparenting. During my first internship, I was super keen to please my supervisors, and was an eager little brown noser. Anything they would ask me, I would respond with an enthusiastic yes, and rush to do that. Even with mindless things like typing out someone's meeting notes, going out to buy office stationery, and even served coffee to some guests a couple of times. No matter how much I hated doing it. 2 months into the internship, the boss called me for a catch-up and bluntly described me as servile to my face, and said that with my attitude, I would never grow professionally. He said, it doesn't matter if you're an intern or a manager. If you do not get over your habit of wanting to please everyone, you'll never learn or achieve anything of value. Though I was shaken then, and even hated him a little bit, I eventually came to realize the truth in his words. You can't respect someone who kisses your ass. It just doesn't work that way. FB. Francis Bacon. Facebook. Life happens wherever you are, whether you make it or not, Uncle Irop. My favorite, Zuko. You have to look within yourself to save yourself from your other self. Only then will your true self reveal itself. Don't worry about whether or not you belong somewhere, or if you'll fit in. Do your part. Respect and support others. If you do that and people don't accept you, it's their problem, not yours. Do your future self a favor. This relates to prepping for the next day. Clothes and lunch pack to saving money to making healthy choices. It makes for easier decisions and a better life. Pick a failure. Sometimes the only options available involve some sort of failure. That's okay. Just pick one, own it, and move on. There's almost never an instant magic solution without long-term consequences. That rare time there is. Learn to really embrace it. Don't half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing. I know, this is from Parks and Rec, but I applied it in my real life. I've had a bad habit of taking on too much and spreading myself too thin. Now I focus on one thing so that I can give the most to it and get the most out of it. Don't be an idiot. It changed my life. Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Great advice. Hurts my feelings every time. Save your money and always live within your means. As someone not working now, Having some stashed away has kept our family afloat. You can't drive forward looking in the rearview mirror. Funny enough, the guy who told me this was a driver's ed teacher. Nobody's looking at you. They're worrying about how they look. The cure for imposter syndrome is to realize that everyone else around you also has imposter syndrome. You can't tell who is swimming naked until the tide goes out, in reference to who is actually prepared when an emergency happens. Very relevant to the COVID situation. Cowers behind toilet paper fortress. Don't spend your money on the fly. Save it when you're in your late 20s. You old amassed reasonable amount to help pay your bills, buy a house, etc. Money buys stuff. Frugalism buys freedom. For everything else, there's MasterCard. My mum said this to me: there is already a lot of hate in the world. You don't need to add to it. This will be buried, but I wanted to share anyway. When my late wife was initially diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, a friend who had lost his wife to the same disease a few years earlier took me aside and told me, when this nightmare is over, you have to be proud of yourself. Over the next 3+ years she fought valiantly, and I lived my life and based my decisions on that piece of advice from my friend. I quit my 75% travel job to spend time and help care for her. I would never wish I spent another night in a Hampton Inn rather than with her. I cashed out my $401k in pension so that she could live comfortably and we wouldn't be scrimping and saving. I have decades to rebuild a plan for retirement. I will not have decades to spend with a woman I loved. She has since passed away, and I'm so incredibly thankful for that advice and for my following that advice. I'm proud of myself and how much I loved her. I thank my friend every time I see him. I'm sorry for your loss. I went to work in construction right out of high school. Before my first day, my grandfather told me, to be successful, keep your ears open, your mouth shut, and constantly outwork the person next to you. I lived that advice, and it has served me very well. That is dangerous advice. Being the silent overachiever can lead to a bad place, too. My grandpa told me this after I had moved into with my girlfriend and said living together was coming so easily. It's not the person who is easy to live with, it's the person you can't live without. We're married now. Why did you marry your grandpa? So would he be his own grandma then? Nobody has any idea what's going on. A lot less people actually have their shit together than you might think. But in reality everyone is just really good at faking it. Usually, they may have a true grasp of one or two things at best. That advice made me a lot less anxious about doing things like trying new hobbies, giving presentations, or applying for jobs I know nothing about, because I know very few people are actually qualified to judge my performance. Don't spend 10 hours on a BS assignment, worth 1% of your grade. That doesn't help you learn the material. Spend all that time learning the material for the exams worth 30+% of your grade. Saves time and saves you from frustration. The world doesn't care about you, and it'll leave you behind, unless you try to make something of yourself. The world isn't cruel, it's just apathetic. Nah, it will leave you behind regardless. We all die, and are eventually forgotten. That doesn't have to be a sad thing though. Life is like a buffet. You have to help yourself. Wisdom. Food. I posted it elsewhere, but my stepdad once told me that, if there is a problem and you know the solution, you can solve it. So stop worrying about it. If there is a problem you can't solve, then there is nothing you can do. So stop worrying about it. Sailor. Sir, the ship is sinking, and I can't swim. Captain. Stop worrying. We can't do anything about it. Sailor. Thanks mate. I feel 100 times better now. Maybe if we panic more, the ship will stop sinking.